Lost and found. Lost Indian boy finds his mother after 25 years, using Google Earth. Saroo Brierley was only 5 years old when he got lost. He was working with his older brother as a sweeper on India's trains. Together, they traveled hundreds of miles up and down a vast network.
It was late at night. We got off the train, and I was so tired that I just sat down at the train station, and I ended up falling asleep.
That fateful nap would determine the rest of his life. He thought his brother would come back for him, but when he woke up the brother was nowhere to be seen. There was a train in front of him. Perhaps his brother was on board. He got on it to look for him. However, Saroo did not meet his brother on the train. Instead, he fell asleep again, and when he woke up 14 hours later, he had a terrible shock. There were hordes of people, pushing, rushing, speaking in an unfamiliar tongue. He had arrived in Calcutta, Kolkata, India's third biggest city and notorious for its slums. He was nearly 1,500 kilometers, 930 miles, from his home. Soon, he was sleeping rough.
It was a very scary place to be. I do not think any mother or father would like to have their 5-year-old wandering alone in the slums and train stations of Calcutta. I was scared. I didn't know where I was.
The little boy learned to fend for himself. He became a beggar, one of the many children begging on the streets of the city. Once he was approached by a man who promised him food and shelter. But Saroo was suspicious and ran away. In the end, Saroo was taken in by an orphanage and put up for adoption. He was adopted by the Brierleys, a couple from Tasmania.
I accepted that I was lost and that I could not find my way back home, so I thought it was great that I was going to Australia.
Saroo settled down well in his new home. But, as he got older, the desire to find his birth family became increasingly strong. The problem was that as an illiterate 5-year-old he had not known the name of his hometown. All he had to go on were his vivid memories. So, he began using Google Earth to search for where he might have been born. It was difficult, but eventually Saroo hit on an effective strategy.
I multiplied the time I was on the train, about 14 hours, with the speed of Indian trains, and I came up with a rough distance, about 1,200 kilometers.
He drew a circle on a map with its center in Calcutta, with its radius about the distance he thought he had traveled. Incredibly, he soon discovered what he was looking for, the town of Khandwa.
When I found it, I zoomed down and bang, the waterfall where I used to play.
He journeyed to Khandwa. He found his way around the town with his childhood memories. Eventually, he found his home. But it was not what he had hoped for. It looked old and shabby, as if nobody had lived there for a long time. A neighbor said that his family had moved. Then he struck gold. Another neighbor said he knew where his mother lived now. The man guided Saroo to where 3 women stood waiting. He stared at them blankly. Only the woman in the middle seemed remotely familiar. The man gestured towards her. "This is your mother," he said. She had been young, in her 30s, the last time he saw her. She looked so much older now. But behind the weathered face, there was something unmistakable, unforgettable, his mother, Fatima.
The last time I saw her she was 34 years old and a pretty lady. I had forgotten that age would get the better of her. But then I recognized her and I said, "Yes, you are my mother." She grabbed my hand and took me into her house. She could not say anything to me. She had a bit of trouble grasping that her son, after 25 years, had returned. She had long feared I was dead.
Fatima had searched the train stations for her missing son, but she had never ventured as far as Calcutta. She couldn't imagine he had gone so far. However, she had never lost hope. A fortune teller had told her that one day she would see her son again. And what of the brother with whom Saroo had originally gone traveling? Unfortunately, the news was not good.
A month after I had disappeared, My brother was found in two pieces on a railway track. We were extremely close. When I left my mother to return to Tasmania, I was heartbroken knowing that my older brother had passed away.
His mother had never known whether foul play was involved or whether the boy had simply slipped and fallen under a train. Saroo Brierly's lifelong wish had been to see his birth mother again. He feels incredibly grateful that this wish was granted. He has kept in touch with his newly found family. And now Hollywood studios have made a star-studded, award-winning film about his amazing story.